Welcome to Woodstock City Council. It is Thursday, June the 17th, 2021. This meeting is being held electronically in accordance with Section 238, subsection 3.3 of the Municipal Act and Section 16.6.24 of the City of Woodstock Procedural Bylaw. This meeting is also being live streamed to the city's YouTube channel, and a recording of this meeting will also be posted on the city's website following the meeting. And Rogers will also broadcast. An agenda of the meeting can be found on the agenda, meetings, and minutes page of the city's website. Councillors will be raising their hands in view of the webcam when moving a motion, requesting to speak, and when a vote is being taken. If a member of council is disconnected or having technical difficulties, we will take a recess in order to attempt to rectify the issue. If technical difficulties exist that prevent the meeting from continuing, the meeting will be adjourned and reconvened at a later time. If a councillor needs to leave the meeting at any time, they are requested to inform the clerk. And with that, I would ask all of the councillors to turn on their webcam. And we have regrets today from Councillor Tate and any disclosure of conflict of interest. Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Your Worship. I, Councillor Jerry Accioni, declare the following potential direct pecuniary interest. Agenda item number E1 in bylaw 9466-21. A potential real estate interest as I own property in close proximity to the subject lands.
Thank you. Any further disclosures of conflict of interest? Seeing none, any disclosure of new business, matters arising from the minutes? Then we'll go with the minutes from our June 3rd, 2021 regular meeting. And Councillor Accioni.
That the minutes of the regular meeting of Woodstock City Council held on June 3rd, 2021 be adopted.
Thank you. And a seconder? We'll go with Councillor Schadenberg. Any errors or omissions? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And we have no additions to the agenda. So next up, we have presentations. And I will be making a presentation on behalf of Woodstock City Council. And this one is for Seniors Month. And so we'll show this. It'll be backwards right now for the viewers at home. But whereas Seniors Month is an annual nationwide celebration, and whereas seniors have contributed and continue to contribute immensely to the life and vibrancy of this community, and whereas seniors continue to serve as leaders, mentors, volunteers, and important and active members of this community, and whereas their contributions, past and present, warrant appreciation and recognition, and their stories deserve to be told. And whereas the health and well-being of seniors is in the interest of all, and further adds to the health and well-being of this community, and whereas the knowledge and experience seniors pass on to us continues to benefit us all, therefore, I, Mayor Trevor Birch, do hereby proclaim June 1st to June 30th, 2021 as Seniors Month, dated in the City of Woodstock, this day, the 17th of June, 2021, and we will make sure that this gets in the appropriate hands. And right now, we have one of our board members from the Southgate Senior Center here with us today to say a few words. Welcome, David Hilderly. There we go.
Thank you, Your Worship, for recognizing seniors this month. I love this technology. There are more seniors living in Woodstock than children under the age of 12, and you've heard Chris Cunningham say that before. It's a reality that people are living longer, healthier, and are more active. This year's theme for Seniors Month is very appropriate. Stay safe, active, and connected. On behalf of the Southgate Center, we celebrate and give thanks to older adults for all that they have done and continue to do for the community. We are so fortunate to live in this beautiful city that our seniors helped build and continued to contribute to. On Monday, Southgate hosted a drive-through free barbecue event. The day was beautiful, and 200 seniors drove through and picked up complimentary hot dog lunch, ice cream treats, and smile bags. This social, safe outing was invaluable for those that attended. We wanted to thank the Woodstock Community Grant Committee for supporting this great initiative. And to all of the seniors, thank you for keeping safe. Southgate Center remains committed to helping you stay active and connected. We miss you and look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I have a few words to add to your presentation. And I want to thank you for all of your hard work at the Southgate. And just as a reminder to everybody, even though gray hair is not necessarily one of the prerequisites, the Southgate does welcome all active seniors 55 and up. And what a great time to get involved and explore all the programs they have to offer. Now, I have in my hands another item I would like to read for not only the benefit of council, but for our entire community. I have, on behalf of the Honorable Raymond Chow. Oh, Mr. Hilderly, please put your camera back on.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. And this is, again, it'll be backwards, but this is a special Senior of the Year Award 2021. And the province calls on individuals in the community to make nominations for those who have made tremendous contributions in the community. And I know that it is hard to choose between all of the applicants because there are so many valuable members in the community working very hard. And I want you to see that this year that the award for 2021 for the City of Woodstock is presented to David Hilderly in recognition of your outstanding contributions to your community after age 65. Now everybody knows, but remember, you've heard me say this before, as good Canadians, we compare ourselves so often to our neighbors to the south. So with the current exchange rate today, we're all much younger. But we will make sure that this distinguished award makes its way into your hands and will be framed accordingly. And keep your camera on. We now have Chris Cunningham coming on, the director of the Southgate Center.
Hi, David.
Chris.
To all of you, to council and your worship, thank you so much for making this possible. We were really quite feeling very blessed and really thrilled. I do have something I'd like to read. Southgate Center was very excited and proud to be able to nominate Mr. David Hilderly for the Ontario Senior of the Year Award. David has been a passionate volunteer of the Southgate Center Board of Directors for the past 7 years. And that equates to over 3,000 volunteer hours with our organization alone. Well, this Southgate has seen incredible growth during these years. David has been involved in our community communications and outreach, fundraising, strategic planning, and supporting Southgate Center's mission, all while assisting us with our future expansion plans. Southgate Center boasts over 350 volunteers in a normal year. While we believe that all of our volunteers are exceptional and worthy of recognition and accolades for selflessly giving of their time, David's volunteerism does go beyond just Southgate Center. His commitment to his community is truly exemplary, and he deserves to be recognized. He has made it his life mission to do all that he can for his community, volunteering and supporting wherever he can to make Woodstock the best place to not only grow in, but live in and to play in. David has been a pillar in the community, volunteering and supporting the arts, community services, education, wellness through active living initiatives and humanitarian activities for many, many more years than we at Southgate have even known him. A true gentleman and a role model to everyone that has had the privilege to meet him. I need you to know that I contacted many of our local charities and not-for-profits about this nomination, David, and every single one of them supported David for this Ontario Seniors of the Year award. And just very briefly, some of the comments were, he finds positivity and excellence in everything that he does. David is an excellent nomination for this award. If David's name is on a project or event in Woodstock, you just know that the whole community wins. This guy has raised more money for our community than people can ever imagine. Perfect candidate. Supporting local is in his DNA. And my favorite from colleague Brad Jansen, he is a local treasure, and through his years as an educator, realtor, and volunteer, has displayed exemplary leadership and compassion. In a year where we have faced great uncertainties, it's people like David Hilderly that help lead the way to a better tomorrow and enrich the life of our community. I'm going to get emotional here. Southgate Centre believes that David Hilderly is to be an outstanding senior that's very deserving of the Ontario Senior of the Year award. And I thank Council for making this a reality, as well as the province. Congratulations, David, from your friends at Southgate Centre.
Oh, thank you so very, very much, Council and Southgate Centre. I'm deeply honored and humbled. I know there are so many good people that volunteer and help out in the community, but I do love our community, and I will remain committed to serving in any way that I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And yep, a round of applause from Council. And we'll make sure that we get the proclamation to the right place and the award to the right place as well. So thank you very much. And we will see you again.
Thank you.
With that, we'll move along to our delegations. And today we have members of the Woodstock Oxford Rotary Club in regards to community proposal for dealing with the homelessness and a tiny home proposal. So today we're joined by, let's see, do we have everyone on board? And we've got 4. So we have Jürgen Van Dyken, Peter Stam, Steve Zare, and Peter Harrison. Welcome.
Thank you, Your Worship. Peter Stam is sending his regrets for this meeting. Thank you for the opportunity to share our proposal in regards to the homeless situation in our community. Housing has now been declared as a human right in Canada. Woodstock Oxford Rotary believes that this is an area of critical need in our community, and we are proposing to develop a tiny home community to provide safe and secure accommodation for people experiencing homelessness. Please review the details of our proposal in the following PowerPoint presentation. And just to make sure that everybody can see this.
Yep, we've got it.
Okay, thank you. Stable shelter is the first building block that enables people to shift focus to support positive development in areas such as income, education, health, etc. Need for housing outweighs the pace of affordable housing builds, resulting in homelessness in our community. Shelter is the basic human right and provides the foundation for all other aspects of life. Now, these numbers are from 2019, and at that time we had a vacancy rate of 1.3 and an average market rent of $1,200 a month in Oxford County. Now, I'm sure with the current market situation, housing market, those numbers have obviously been worse. As we all know, Ontario Works provides $343 a month for someone that's homeless, and with a permanent address will receive an additional $390 for shelter. And someone on ODSP receives $672 and $497 for shelter. Now, looking at those numbers, the average market rent, the availability of shelter, and income just doesn't add up. Our vision as Rotary Woodstock Oxford is for no one to experience homelessness in Oxford County. And our mission is to provide a warm, secure, and private shelter in a tiny home community for people experiencing homelessness, and to connect tenants with existing resources to improve their overall well-being. Now, we want to emphasize that we are not solving any drug addictions. We are not getting them a job. We are not expecting tenants to live in peace with everyone, etc. We are improving their lives by providing a warm bed and a place they can call their own. All other issues remain the same. That being said, shelter is the first step in improving their lives. And existing services, resources are getting an opportunity to connect with tenants where they are. This will slowly improve their lives, and for some, it may be their ticket to get back on their feet sometime in the future. Our proposed immediate solution is a tiny home, less than 100 square foot, fully insulated. We are providing electric heat, lights, bed, mattress, pillow, linen, closet, table, chair. It's safe, it's suitable, and it's affordable. And if you're curious to see what it looks like, we've had our pilot model built, and it's located on the Home Hardware parking lot. Phase one of our proposal is to start off with 10 units, up to 30 8 by 12 units. We're going to be providing a community building, portable washrooms and showers, laundry. We also will provide an in-ground garbage enclosure, which will be donated. And depending on the site, we're including a security fence to prevent unwelcome visitors. Now, the community has already stepped up significantly, and we've been talking to Share Construction, Home Hardware, Mike's Electric, Century 21, Great Northern Insulation, etc. And many of these organizations will be helping us with this phase one by either donating labor or materials, or we can buy it at cost. Now, in collaboration with existing services, we will be preparing a suitable site for on-site meals, and this is in collaboration with existing services. We're also looking at having a medical bus on site, similar to Lot 42 in Kitchener. We've talked to the methadone clinic. We will be providing volunteer jobs for tenants to look after snow removal, grass cutting, cleaning up, etc. And again, depending on site, we will be providing a bus stop as well for transportation. We're looking at a model to do a collaborative site management, to have a community council in place where tenants can take part of this council to play a part in the site management. We will also implement a screening process for tenants. We have the form in place for that, and you can find that in your information package. As well as we're going to be modeling the Urine House model with full-time staff. And in addition, we will be providing 24/7 security on site. We've talked to the police, fire, and medical in our community, and they've asked us to provide suitable access for emergency vehicles, the right of access by police and other officials, preventing of theft, preventing of fire code violations, limit the number on site, the limit the number of tenants on site, preventing theft, as well as prevention of informal food pass. And we just wanted to thank as well the police and fire and medical to work with us and come up with this plan. We're going to be requiring each tenant to sign a rental agreement, and you can find that in your information package as Appendix D. And on the left, you'll see a couple of sentences. And we're going to be emphasizing the aspect of respect. We expect tenants to respect each other, respect the property, and respect the rules that will be in place. They'll be working on site with us, led by the community council, and will be led by an individual on site. They also commit to playing a role in supporting this community by keeping the property clean, as well as doing their volunteer roles. Now, all this is going to cost money. And first of all, a big thank you to all the organizations that have already stepped up by donating funds, as well as committing their time and their resources. You can find the letters of support again in your information packets in the back. Now, thanks again to many organizations that have provided us with their expertise and how to apply for funding. We've talked to CMHC as well as Community Foundation of Oxford how to apply for this funding. We're also willing to hold a manageable mortgage, and we're looking into government and grant funding sources. We will be starting off a capital campaign once this is approved by the city, and we're counting on the community members and businesses to support this initiative. As mentioned as well, we have a lot of people stepped up to provide sweat equity, and we're looking forward to working together with all those in the community. And in summary, at the end, social housing allowance of $390 will be used for the ongoing operation of the tiny house community. Now, we've been in consultation with many members of the community. We've talked to the City of Woodstock, Woodstock Police Services, Oxford County, as well as the United Way, Operation Sharing, Habitat for Humanity, Ingamo, Canadian Mental Health Association, Addiction Services, Social Planning, Indwell, and Trumpet of Truth. And again, thank you so much from the Woodstock Oxford Rotary for sharing your expertise. Here's a snapshot of those that we've talked to and of those that have already committed their support. A large number of churches have stepped up to the plate, and we're looking forward to working with you as well. Now, the tiny home community is not a new concept. It is being implemented in Ontario as well across Canada. We're quite familiar with initiative in Chatham-Kent, Dufferin County, Durham, Guelph, Hamilton. They're all doing the same principles, and you'll find the list on the website Built for Zero. Now, in summary, what are the advantages of a tiny house community? It's accessible 24/7, a place tenant can call home. It's private, safe, and secure. They have a place for belongings, and they have a sense of belonging, a sense of community, and it's a centralized location for healthcare and other services to be provided. Again, it's a first step to improve overall well-being. So we're looking for support from the council, and our motion request today is Woodstock Oxford Rotary to collaborate with the City of Woodstock, Oxford County, and other services to identify a suitable location to build transitional housing units for individuals experiencing homelessness, where they can feel safe and secure and have a sense of community, and where they can connect with existing services to improve their overall well-being. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I guess the first thing I would like to say, this is so encouraging to see service clubs and members of the community, volunteers stepping up in regards to this. Definitely what we're seeing right now is something that is affecting all communities in Canada. In fact, Bloomberg had an article just 2 days ago, and Canada is right now, unfortunately, ranked number 2 in the world for unaffordability for housing. And many people have experienced the long waiting list in the past in our community for assistance with units that are managed through the County of Oxford. And we saw a lot of individuals who were underhoused or perhaps couch surfing in the past. And it remained hidden for a lot of years in our community, unlike some of the larger cities where it was quite visible. Now, recently, a lot has changed, and we're starting to see, especially in our downtown area and some of the spots where camps have been set up, we're seeing it firsthand, that visible nature. Now, there's many faces to Woodstock, of course, and as discussions that you have started in the community have garnered some attention from media, that's fostered a lot of great discussions. And there's individuals that I've talked to right now who are not part of that visible homeless community, but they're actually the ones where through no fault of their own, whether their home that they were renting went up for sale, they have not been able to find suitable housing. So the supply side, of course, this council has been working actively to bring new lands into the community for future development. And of course, many great applications have been coming forward for new apartments in the community. Now, I have a question. I've had some individuals who right now are in that couch surfing phase and living in their car, and they have full-time employment. And one of their concerns was because of the reluctance of the not in my backyard for a large encampment, like some of the other examples we've seen, they were asking if there was a way where almost like a sponsorship opportunity for individuals where a private homeowner who could meet the zoning within their own property that wants to help somebody while they're waiting for other forms of housing to come along to be able to have a tiny home like this in their backyard. And in your research, have you come across anything like that?
Actually, I was approached by someone to and suggested that option as well. I think it's quite interesting, and I think it needs some further investigation how that would work obviously from a zoning point of view. But I think it's very encouraging to hear that members of this community are willing to allow a tiny home to be built in their backyard to support someone to get back on their feet when the time and the opportunity permits. I do know that the city of Toronto is allowing granny flats as of, I believe, this year. And I guess it could be looked into if that's similar for homeless individuals.
Now, and I guess one more, or I might have a couple more before I turn it over to council, but I know there's also been a bit of confusion in the community with the recent approval process for the new building that would have apartment units on Parkinson. And I think perhaps in some news articles it had been referenced as a tiny home project when really it's not the same thing when you look at what tiny homes usually reference. It more means small apartments. In your discussions, have you been able to ease people's concerns around that development on Parkinson and differentiate between what you're proposing and what the county is currently working on there?
So we've since changed our name to Pathways Community in reference to the confusion that was in the community. People were asking, what's the difference? So we've changed our name to reflect the aspect of a community, and it happens to be built with tiny homes. The big difference is that our proposal is immediate. Once we've allocated or found a suitable location, we can do site development and building of these homes fairly quickly, as opposed to having to wait 1 to 2 years for zoning approval, as well as engineering and permits, etc. So we know the need is today, and we know it's going to be here for a while until we take immediate action.
Thank you. And I guess just following along, you'll notice on the agenda today that we have a notice of motion that'll be brought forward that we'll deal with at a subsequent meeting. That's also looking at the housing crisis, as well as some of the other factors that play in to some of the individuals. So of course, this is not blanket statements when we talk about mental health issues or substance or opiate use, but we see a lot of different programs over the years that have evolved from the various ministries and implemented through different agencies. And I think what you'll see from our community here is that we're advocating with our senior level partners to ensure that they start working together and relook at where all of the money is going right now. Just as an example, with the opiate use and whatnot, there is a lot of different harm reduction programs available. And of course, when it comes to funding of proper detox facilities, the funding is not there. But if you were to connect all the dots from all the different programs that currently exist that haven't really been able to evolve or keep up or stem the tide of this crisis that we're now seeing across the Western world, we're asking them to take a concerted look at this again to come up with both not the short-term, but also the long-term solutions. And then some of the partners that you've recognized in your presentation, and that's not necessarily meant to be an inclusive list, but in your recommendation to council here, I think it's very fitting that the discussion gets coordinated and based through the County of Oxford, who receives funding from the province for various initiatives like this. They are the one that sets up the service providers and takes care of things. But of course, Woodstock as a city and this council, we are doing everything we can within our power to help and assist and give guidance. In fact, we're going above and beyond what is actually within our sphere of jurisdiction. But I will be a part of a newly formed committee. We're meeting tomorrow. It'll be with the Social Planning Council through the County of Oxford, and it'll include various partners and agencies, but more importantly, those boots on the ground that know the people's names and know their stories, and not only would be the type of people that can hand out the fish, but also teach someone how to fish. And so that would include places like the Refuge and Cycles for Life and Operation Sharing and the Salvation Army. And as those discussions get started, would Rotary be interested in, with the way we have this motion here, it would I think fit right in with those other providers as well, so that we can see, because there'll be no one unique solution here. I think it's going to take several different things, and you recognize that even in your presentation. What would your thoughts be on that?
I'm going to ask Steve Zer, president of Rotary, answer that question.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. And councilors, thank you for having us be able to make a presentation to all of you today. The Rotary Club of Woodstock, Oxford realizes that this is a multifaceted, not only situation, but it's not a problem that's going to be solved in one swoop. The Rotary Club would definitely want to be involved in this. We've spent hours and hours putting our program together, and we're trying to just get the initial steps started to move forward with emergency housing for people to call their own house, so that all these other organizations can keep doing what they're already good at doing.
Thank you. And I think with that, I'll turn it over to council. I know everybody has been doing a lot of homework and studying, so I'll look for the first hand here, and we've got Councillor Accioni.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And more of a statement. I think enough has been said, and we certainly know that there's a huge need here in the community. I just really want to say thank you to the Rotary Club. for the amount of hours, the stepping up, the amount of phone calls, the discussions, the open discussions that you've been looking for different things to work. Of course, there's a lot of misconceptions out in the community that we kind of want to place that, I mean, as far as locations and everything, they've not been decided. Like, I know some people think they have and they haven't. What I really do appreciate is you're willing to work together as a community, as city council, as county, and find a suitable location that's going to kind of work best with all the other agencies that do need to be part of this. Because you're right, this is the first step, but certainly not going to be the solution to the entire problem. So no real questions, only because you guys have been so great to deal with at the beginning, but just thank you for everything you're doing. This background, of course, you guys provided was a lot of great information and very valuable. So thank you, keep it up, and we will get to this somehow. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I too, it's more of a statement. I just want to thank the Rotary Pathway community and all those who worked on this extensive report. You certainly have done a lot of work, and thanks for your concerns for our community. Even if we don't move forward on the location that was identified in the report, it has gotten the community and everyone talking and moving in the right direction. I look forward to your organization working jointly with the city and the county in order to identify a suitable location to build transitional housing for individuals experiencing homelessness. You so far have done a wonderful job, I think, and I just commend you for the work and time that you have spent on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Schadenberg.
Thanks a lot. I also want to thank the Rotary Club Woodstock Ingersoll for the amount of work, Woodstock Oxford, and the amount of work that they've put into this so far. I attended Home Hardware the day of, I believe it was April 17th. It was certainly a Saturday where that sort of model home, if you want to call it that, was under construction. The first thing I was really impressed with by the fact is that Tim Bentham was there as the carpenter, and anyone who knows carpentry in Woodstock knows that Bentham Fine Homes is a very good carpenter. So very quickly, I was impressed by the fact that top-notch people are involved in this, and you see all the construction companies and service groups and whatnot involved. I think it really is terrific. My question, however, is where did you come up with the size of 8 by 12? And would you not think that 8 by 12 is possibly, as far as square footage goes, likely too small of a unit, even for just one person?
Can I answer that? Basically, we chose the 8 by 12 because it's less than 100 square feet requiring building permits, but notwithstanding that, of course, we've coordinated with the building department and the Electrical Safety Association so that we are building to code. The unit is a basic unit. We're not intending for these to be people's lifelong homes. This is intended to be a transitional development as much as is possible these days, because truly speaking, there isn't a place for people to go. But hopefully conditions will improve over time, and people will be able to use this as a stepping stone to a better and more stable way of living. But that's basically why we chose the 8 by 12 sized unit.
Thank you. Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, I guess as a follow-up to that, there's going to be some sort of a community services kind of a building or something attached to it, which would include a bathroom, showers, a bit of a community room and kitchen probably as well. How do you kind of imagine the layout and the use of that going, especially if you've got more than, say, 10 adults, if you get up to 12 or 14 tiny homes in use at any given time?
Well, what we have looked at actually is to obtain a school portable building as a communal center. In our conversations with the Community Health Center and with the Canadian Mental Health Association, we talked about them providing services at the site. So we wanted a space that would be large enough and would be able to provide some privacy. So we haven't actually designed the layout of the building, but those were considerations that were given. The CMHA particularly was looking for a safe meeting place where people could relax and feel comfortable. There is also some consideration in terms of the stigma of receiving social support services. And so there are a number of factors that are going to come into actually designing the interior of the communal building.
You can continue.
I guess really the reason I had those two questions in particular is because anybody who saw your report that's actually on today's city council agenda may not have known those specific items and how sort of the day in, day out of the project may be run, because outside of that, you would think services such as the CMHA and the importance of, say, 461 Dundas Clinic and access to those, how important they would be to anything along this line. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through to whoever wishes to answer the question. Would you consider taking the energy and the resources and putting it to more permanent as, let's say, a building or towards a purchase of an existing building?
Steve, you want to answer that?
Okay, thank you. I think at this point, the Woodstock Oxford Rotary Club and this steering committee is open to all ideas at this point. We know that we're looking for immediate transitional housing, but we're here at, I guess, as the request to the city to continue to work and move forward in a suitable site. I think we have to be open to look at all our options.
Okay, I just have a little bit of difficulty, if I may continue, Your Worship, with the use of transitional housing. To me, tiny homes is not transitional. We have some examples in the community already of transitional housing, and it's under one roof. They have rooms. They're exposed to things like learning how to take care of themselves as far as cooking goes, all the social skills that may have been forgotten due to possibly mental illness or drug abuse. And having looked at models of tiny homes in other areas, because I've been doing extensive research on it, it doesn't have the same sense of home as what, say, a permanent building, or just them having a room and then being with everybody else. I really struggle with the structure itself and how you pull everything all together. If you're, like I said, if you're willing to work with this new committee that's been formed at the county level, looking for something permanent, I think that first of all, I think it would be better received in the community, and I believe that it would be better for the community as well as the people that would be using it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, like through the mayor to Councillor Talbot, we appreciate your concern, and we're obviously more than willing to work with the new established committee. We also acknowledge the fact that the need is today, and we want to make a difference for those that are sleeping rough or sleeping outside. And we all know that a new building will take time for design, permitting, zoning, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that is more like a long-term solution. But if we want to make a difference in these people's lives next week or next month, then we're interested in looking for a suitable location where we can establish these tiny homes and help these individuals today.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Zarek.
One of the things, and I appreciate all the questions and concerns, because I do think they're all very valid. So, Your Worship, I think one of the things that we have often discussed as we've been putting forth these ideas the last several months is that if we could have something that would be a trial period, as I agree from all the different questions, why our little tiny home versus the county's tiny home? Well, one difference is we don't have any plumbing to our buildings. The county's tiny apartments actually are what I would call full living arrangements. And if I understand Councillor Talbot, you're leaning in the same direction as being something more, which I say more permanent and long-term. And I agree with that. But if we could have a trial period where we have this first tiny step to get these, I'll call them residents, they're citizens, some of them are friends, that if we can find a location that's suitable to all parties involved, even for a trial period of say up to a year, where we can organize, and excuse my terminology, organize the chaos that has been happening with them sleeping in very, what I would call uncomfortable and unpopular locations, then we can continue to move forward to try and solve this problem on a bigger scale.
Thank you, Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Mr. Zaire. I guess I saw this presentation originally through the BIA, and you have changed it some. So you are guaranteeing that this is going to be manned 24/7 by a qualified person?
Could I have Jürgen or Peter respond to that?
Yeah, our goal is to have on-site security 24/7, as well as full-time staff to look after the site management.
That's your goal, but does that mean, I just want to make sure it's very clear that if this starts, that happens right at the same time? Like none of this happens unless it is manned 24/7.
Yeah, we're committed to do that, but we can't make those arrangements if we don't have the support from the city. We need to first, this is our first step to ask for your support. Once we have your support, we can move forward, working, collaborating with yourself and the county to find A, a suitable location, B, start securing funding, and C, have on-site security.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Harrison.
Just to be clear, the Huron House Transitional Home that's being run by the Community Health Center does not have 24-hour attendance. The workers, the Community Health Center workers are there during the daytime, not even continuously then. So that transitional situation is operating on that basis.
Thank you. And we've got a couple more questions. We're going to go to Councillor Talbot. One thing I'll just interject one thing. I think, again, there's many different individuals that have different levels of need, and where additional cautions have to be taken. You've met some of the individuals from both sets, and then there's, as I mentioned before, those other group, which are the ones where nobody even knows currently that they're homeless. And so I think this is why I think if we get this discussion broadened with some of the other providers that offer some of the other components, and we can see where we can utilize this in the best way possible with theirs, and we can come up with our short, medium, and long term. And keep in mind, I think, if we think about those other individuals that are unnoticed, unrecognized, and won't admit that they're actually homeless right now, the ones that are working and living out of their car or borrowing someone's couch just simply because they can't find an apartment or a room for rent right now with the market so tight. I've heard from different members of some of the church groups. That's where I brought up that question about individuals almost sponsoring and having one in their backyard. Are there Rotary members that would want to have one of these in their backyard for some of those individuals that maybe are a bit more independent and are just waiting on the new units and opportunities where perhaps there wouldn't be the concern about security or the health bus or whatnot? Is that something that's a possibility?
Yeah, I've already done that. I've had family members live with us for an extended period of time, and that brings it home what it is to be in a peculiar situation for some individuals. And I think those that are willing to help out that way is commendable. But the reality is as well that not everybody has the means to do so. That's why we're proposing a location, a suitable location for those that are not fortunate enough to have family, friends that provide that opportunity.
Very good. So I think we'll go to Councillor Talbot with the follow-up, and then we'll go to Councillor Petter after that.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to clarify with, I believe it was Peter that spoke about it. Huron House, the reason why there isn't someone there 24/7 is that the people that are living there have received help. They're recovering from alcohol, or they're, as the mayor had mentioned, these people are in recovery, which is very different from homelessness. These people have already made the determination that they want to be back into society and need help, and they've taken the first steps by trying to recover and recoup. So they're going back in, and in all the discussions that I've had with many people who deliver services, we still do have some people that require we require more transitional housing because there are more than that. But it's always making sure that we don't confuse transitional with homelessness, because it's different, because there are individuals who are homeless and they have made that choice and they don't want to change. And we have had experience in the past with some. We have given them shelter numerous times, and they are back out on the street because that is where they feel the safest. I mean, it's not somewhere where something I would like to do, and I'm sure the rest of you wouldn't want to do either, but they've been doing it for so long, that's what they know, and they deal with it. And I think in the colder times, they probably use in out of the cold or someone's couch, but they struggle with living inside four walls. So, I mean, there are people that we're going to be able to help, and we're still always going to have those that we're not going to, we're not going to be able to make a difference. Some people, don't want it, but there are, and that's why I look at the transitional housing, and I wish that we could find something that was a little bit different, where life skills are taught. And I understand the whole idea about a roof over their head and, trying to give it to them. And I think that the Rotary Club, I think what you've done is you've spurred so much conversation in the community I mean, because probably my number one complaint is about the homeless issue and the people downtown. And it's got everybody talking. And that's why it's so important to me about your flexibility. Because I think that if you're flexible and with all the people that want to be involved and could be involved, maybe as a community, we can make a difference.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Harrison.
I'd just like to note that all homeless people are not addicted to drugs or alcohol, and should not be lumped into a single category that way. Many people are homeless for a variety of reasons and are perfectly capable of managing their own lives given an opportunity. The Canadian Mental Health Association, of course, has identified that mental illness and homelessness feed on themselves, on each other, and that if you can provide someone with a safe, secure shelter, it will benefit them tremendously in terms of their mental health. So again, we're open broadly to a wide range of solutions. But we do believe that providing a safe and secure place for people to sleep will, in the long run, benefit all of us, our entire city. So, as I say, I don't think we can categorize people as one thing or another just because they're homeless.
Thank you. Councillor Petter.
Through the mayor, I want to thank the delegation as well, and the businesses and the service groups that have stepped up to the plate and volunteered time, money, you name it. My problem in all this is this issue is so complex and there are so many different layers. And I know Councillor Talbot did not mean anything like everyone's suffers from addictions that's homeless. She did not mean that. But there are some that do, and there are some that don't. And there are some that want to be homeless, and there are some that don't. And there are some that would go along with the tiny home idea, and there's some that won't. And this is so complicated. And I appreciate the tiny home solution. My problem is where is it going? And I also, through our resolution that's going to come up sooner or later when we get done talking, I want to see a report from staff on the other tiny home projects in the province. I need to know some of them are way ahead of us, and I would like to know how it's developing, an unbiased opinion, not from the groups that set it in motion, because that's going to be one side of the story, and not from the groups on Facebook that want to say that they're all terrible places with drugs and you name it. I want to hear an unbiased opinion on how they're doing. My problem is a lot of people in the city of Woodstock feel that if they go to a tiny homes project, that the downtown problem is gone. We're going to take them and we're going to put them in tiny homes someplace else and we'll get our downtown back. Well, I don't believe that for a second. For all the reasons that we've talked about. Some want to be where they are, some don't. There are so many levels to this. And I appreciate the delegation. God bless you guys. You're doing a tremendous service to our community. And I hope something works. I just don't know what it is. And I do not want to, and we talk about not in my backyard, we have to find the right location. And I don't know where that is at this point. I hope at some point we do figure that out. Thank you.
Thank you. And further discussion? Okay. Go ahead and wrap up, Jürgen.
I just wanted to emphasize that we're not trying to solve all the issues. We're just trying to provide them a safe and secure place they can sleep at night. And from that stepping stone, they have an opportunity to move on in dealing with any issues they may have. Again, that's up to them. Now, I'm interested to hear from Councillor Peter as well. Peter, that once the tiny homes projects are approached in the city, in the province, I'd like to emphasize that the homeless individuals are interviewed as well, because we're doing it for them. We're not here to solve the issues downtown or other problems. We're here to help these individuals. So I'm looking forward to hear from the homeless individuals that are currently in those tiny home projects, how it has changed their lives. Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll go on to consideration of delegation. And I think if council wants, we can always, if it's okay, we can do a hybrid of one of those motions if you want to include having staff bring back that report. And we'll go Councillor Accioni.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I'd like to make the motion that Woodstock City Council direct staff to collaborate with the Woodstock Oxford Rotary Club, the County of Oxford, and other services to identify a suitable location for transitional housing for individuals experiencing homelessness, where they can feel safe and secure, have a sense of community, and where they can connect with existing services to improve their overall well-being, and ask the Woodstock City Council get a report from city staff and other locations.
We'll say, or say in regards to other projects. Or
in regards to other projects of similar
very good
styles.
And I think the clerk has got that would suffice. So, and then a seconder on that motion. We'll go with Councillor Petter. Discussion. And we'll start Councillor Accioni.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. We have to do something. There's no question. I appreciate what Councillor Talbot is talking about. That is more of a permanent solution, hopefully anyways. I do recognize that that is probably a year or years in the making. Unfortunate, where this is probably months in the making. The need is now. Everybody knows it. You cannot stop anybody in the city of Woodstock, and they are going to admit that this is probably one of the biggest problems we have. So as a council, we're responsible. We have to recognize and thank again the Rotary Club for stepping up, being that that group to lead by example and being willing to speak with everybody. So thank you again.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, through the mayor, probably a question I'm leading up to our treasurer, Patrice Hilderly. It certainly be terrific if the city of Woodstock already owned a piece of property that might be able to fit our definition here as to an area that might be good of use. But just want to remind everybody, and it doesn't matter if you're following on social media or comments each and every councillor receives every day about, does the city of Woodstock do enough for the homeless or for human services in general? And that's the terminology, of course, Oxford County would use as their mandate, that human services falls under their responsibility. So the reason I was referring to our treasurer, Patrice Hilderly, on this, Mayor, is that the city of Woodstock, of course, collects taxes from the taxpayers, and of course divvies that up what the city of Woodstock needs, what the county of Oxford needs, and of course even what the education percentage would be. So I wanted to ask Patrice Hilderly just to get an idea overall already as to what the people of the city of Woodstock and our budget in general is already putting towards this money, and the fact that we've hired extra police officers for the downtown and done other things as well. So we've certainly done our share within the city of Woodstock versus what the county of Oxford's responsibilities are, both financially and because it's financial, therefore to be able to create the programs and the housing, the bricks and the mortar to be able to take care of human services as part of their mandate.
Your worship, through to Councillor Schadenberg's question, the human services at at the county, which offers housing and community services and children's programs as well. Their total budget is about $8 million, and we pay 35% of that. So our share of that budget is $2,950,000. So that's what we contribute. That's our piece of it, and the other municipalities in the county contribute as well.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Further
thanks, Paul.
discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. Oh, go ahead, Councillor Talbot.
Can the back end of the motions be reread, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll just get the sound. There we go. Thank you, Your Worship. Through to Councillor Talbot. What I have is that, and further, that staff be directed to prepare a report outlining the experience of other municipalities with respect to tiny homes community initiatives.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing, oh, Councillor Lauder.
So just a question, I don't know who to direct it to. So in that motion, the last part of it, I think that the staff report should come before we go further, like within the next, by the next council meeting or as soon as possible, so that they can help give direction to the committees that's forming and working at the county and through to the Rotary group to also. So I think that's the most important part of this resolution, and I don't know if it should come at the first part of the resolution or at the end.
I think before Councillor Talbot speaks, I would say that if we go ahead this way, I mean, at this point, there are a lot of different committees that are working on this, a lot of different agencies, and some have different tasks and visions. And of course, for our community, we know that the speed at which government works is definitely not fast enough for the current issues we're facing. So the references that I made to the newly formed one at the county, their initial meeting will actually be tomorrow, and it'll include a few of the other on the grounds providers. I think it'd be too short of order for Rotary to be involved and the city staff brought in. But this is something that I would introduce at that meeting tomorrow. If this resolution passes today at Woodstock City Council, that here's another opportunity to make sure that we're having a fulsome discussion. And perhaps by the time we have that report back on other examples of tiny homes, that's when we'd be started in the discussion phase with that other committee. And even at that point, I think that based on my understanding of looking for suitable locations and what would be required for zoning, et cetera, and then of course the notice to the neighborhood so that the individuals in those neighborhoods would know of a proposal, that will take a bit more time. So I think even if we pass this motion this way, it's not advancing from our end on city business anything further, but it's making sure that the people who are wanting to go above and beyond and help fill some of these immediate gaps from our senior level governments, that they're involved in that broader discussion that includes all the stakeholders and a few of the people from governance as well. And I don't know if that's along the lines of what you were going to ask, Councillor Talbot, but go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Not really. I guess I agree with Councillor Lauder. I feel like this is the cart before the horse. And it has been stated prior to, and I like I said, I appreciate everything the Rotary has done. Yes, they have done tremendous background and work. I have as well too. I have been reading and looking into as many things as I possibly can for weeks now. I really feel that the report from staff, having heard how everything else is being received and what is being done, it would have a more positive effect because it would give us an idea of direction. If this is something that we can support and that we do want to find a piece of land for, because maybe the report's going to come back and say, this isn't a really good idea. We need something different. Maybe go into an existing facility. So I would really like to hear, I personally would like to hear a report first.
And I think depending on how the vote goes on this, if this one is voted down, then we can introduce a new motion. I'll be myself, I'm in favor of the way it's structured because I think that even if that report came back and said that we don't have a suitable location for this type of initiative, or this isn't the time, that we want to make sure we harness all of the opportunity we can from the service clubs and the volunteers here and the work that they've done reaching out to local businesses alongside those other recognized programs, so that we can just keep this momentum going. We need to address things as quick as we can, but I'll allow council to make that decision with the vote. And it looks like we'll go Councillor Petter next, and then Councillor Accioni.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I just want to make sure I understand this, and I'm pretty sure I do. I don't care which way it goes, whether the staff report comes in before or after, as far as the motion goes, because I don't see a commitment by us in the wording of the motion. I see that we can help any services that want to identify a suitable location. I have no problem helping anybody look for anything. It doesn't mean we're going to agree to it. And I don't think that matters one way or the other, whether, and if council wishes to go first with the report and leave the rest, that's fine too. It doesn't seem to matter to me the way it's worded.
Councillor Accioni.
Through your worship, I'm actually, no, I kind of disagree there, that I think the Rotary Club deserves to know that we support this. It's plain and simple. No matter what they're doing or who they're going to work with and do everything. All we're doing here is basically, in my opinion, saying that, okay, we recognize the Rotary Club, recognize they're trying to think outside of the box. We have to do something. They're willing to work with us. They've even admitted if it's a building, then fine. If it's a different location, whatever. At this point, this is just, in my opinion, council saying, listen, yes, we agree there's a huge need. We must do something, and thank you to the Rotary Club for stepping up, and we'll work with you. And in the meantime, I like the addition of Councillor Petter with the reports. Let's get reports, get working on in the same time, but I certainly don't want the Rotary Club to be stuck in hold for weeks while we wait on that. So I think the motion, the way it sits, I think it should move forward.
Very good. And Councillor Lauder.
No, I agree that it's just that I was seeing the report. I thought that maybe that could come first before they go on with everything else, but I agree. And certainly I want the Rotary to know that I support everything that they're doing. And just as long as we get reports from staff and help guide us to make the decisions on where we should have this. And I think the quicker that we can get something permanent, a building for them, that we can help as many people as possible to get out of their homeless situation. So it's not that I disagree with this. I just think that the report is important. That's all I was saying, trying to convey.
Thank you. And I'll add one more piece just for any of the viewers at home, because we've all seen some of the misinformation or uninformed discussions that can take place in this day and age, especially with social media, where individuals, when they look at a site, a building that is currently empty, or a lot that's currently empty, and they say, well, why doesn't the city do it here? Why doesn't the city do it there? The city does not own those properties. It's much like businesses. When someone says, well, why would the city allow this business to come here and do this or do that? Private property owners, private businesses, we're about zoning and fit and neighborhood. And of course, I've had a lot of experience firsthand dealing with some of these social issues and the individuals from all the different categories within the housing spectrum, but I'm not an expert. And we have a lot of agencies that represent through our service provider at the county, and of course, provincial and federal funding that do have experts. And then we also have all of the individuals in these other groups, whether they're ministry organizations or strictly not-for-profits, or now service clubs being involved. We have a lot of great volunteers in the community that are trying to help fill that gap that the government has. So I think, again, just for any of the viewers at home who say, why not this site? Why not that site? Why not this site? Those are private properties, and the city has no influence over what goes on there. But definitely there is a key piece for the city in this. And we do need to make sure that people understand, just like the discussion today, no one councillor is disagreeing with what the need is and what's recognized and what's been identified here in this presentation. We can have little bits of disagreement over words and terminology, especially when individuals have been looking at a lot of the different programs for a number of years, whether that's in a bureaucratic setting or in a political setting, because all different levels of government like to use acronyms and like to use fancy terms, and those definitions have been shifted or misused at different times, just like the example of saying that the apartment development on Parkinson would be tiny homes. That was a misrepresentation, in the sense that if you were to look at the former Harvey Wood site, that is the Indwell site, which has all of the great supports within there, and that's one of those partners that I've asked to be at that committee with the county and social planning and Salvation Army and Operation Sharing and the Refuge and Rotary, if this is part of it as well, that we bring those people together, because those are like our soldiers, our boots on the ground. They're the ones that know these people by name, their stories, their backgrounds, and they know the realities. And we can help try to figure all of this out together. It has been mentioned how complex of an issue this is, and you have to be so careful in the words you use. Again, one of the large concerns that the public would have, of course, is the increase of needles that have been found in the city. And of course, that's a discussion for Southwest Public Health. The province has legislation that is put in place for harm reduction and to prevent diseases that can spread by sharing needles. Now, that legislation was based off of legislation from British Columbia, which was very successful. And in British Columbia, you will not find discarded needles, even in the neighborhoods that have a high concentration of people who do mainline injection. Our legislation is set up the same as theirs. But here in Ontario, certain providers that give out these clean needles are not adhering to the provincial legislation that was put in place. And I think when we get later to just the notice of motion that we won't be speaking at this meeting, but we'll speak at a subsequent meeting, that's just one little piece of this giant puzzle. How is it that almost all of the alcohol containers in Ontario, whether it's wine or spirit or beer, almost all of them make it back for recycling at the brewers retail? within the provincial legislation for this harm reduction on needles for people who use mainline injection for drug use, it says that those agencies are charged with giving out the clean needles and the safe recycling and disposal of those needles. And we have agencies across this province that have only got one side of the legislation down pat. They take the funding and they give out the needles, and that's where it ends. And they say, hey, oh, city, you find needles in your park or at the museum, you should put in a needle box. In other jurisdictions, the individual that comes forward requesting those clean needles, if they bring in 2 used needles, they get 2 new needles. If they bring in 100 used needles, they get 100 clean needles. So I think we need everybody to look at this a different way, including at the province with that notice that we have later. And this is the part where, again, not all homeless people are addicts, and not all homeless people in the friendly city are the ones that we see in the encampments or visibly in the downtown. Many of the homeless people in the friendly city right now are people that you saw them in a house or an apartment 6 months ago or a year ago. They have not been without employment. They have a family, and they still are trying to give that semblance of a normal life, and they're maybe not sharing their story of how they're living out of their car. Or as Jurgen had mentioned, he has housed different people from within his support group. And so I hope that this discussion, when we think about some of the concerns from the public because they see those discarded needles, we know that not all homeless people have mental health issues or have drug issues, but it is a concern that has to be explored if we're looking at a community setting of these type of homes. And I think I could continue talking forever. So we better go to a vote soon, or this meeting will start to go on for quite a while. But one thing that I will commit to, however this goes and whatever solutions we look at, and whatever the fit and feel will be for this community, it will be something that all of the different places that are charged with these social programs and social helps, whether it's transitional housing, rent geared to income, potential detox facilities, crash beds, tiny homes, backyard dwellings, whatever it might end up being. And there might be a multitude of each, both in the short term and in the long term. I want to make sure that all the people at home know that the city is committed to being an advocate and trying to make sure that all of the right people are in the room from those other agencies. The question that was asked by Councillor Schattenberg of the treasurer of what is the county's budget on these type of services, and the county just received some special one-time funding for homelessness as well. There is also budgets for Canadian mental health. There is also budgets for the Oxford Community Health Centre, and all of these other places all also receive funding. So if we were to have the total dollars that are in this, one of the things that is quite unfortunate when we look at the way in the past some of the social programs have been handled, it would be easy for somebody to look from the outside in and say, poverty and homelessness is big business because the governments at all levels keep throwing a lot of money at it and they still haven't fixed it. And the problem's getting worse and worse and worse on all aspects, whether it's ones with substance abuse, ones with mental health, or ones that do not have the ability to find a suitable unit because of the supply constraints. So we will continue that, and we will also be asking that these other agencies and groups also increase their communication within the community, because I know not just myself as mayor, but each of these counselors have at one point or another been approached, whether face-to-face, telephone, email, social media, whatever the mechanism might be, in a way that is very negative and potentially almost hostile by some of the people in the community who are feeling like the neglect of this has gone on for far too long. And they blame us, the city, and this council and this mayor, that we're the ones that have not done anything. And yet that's where I started that discussion at the beginning, saying we have already as a city gone above and beyond what our responsibilities are within the service delivery. So not to push responsibility over to the county or the other agencies, but recognize that the county, when we look at our budget at the county, we have certain programs and we have those community partners listed. When we look at our budget here at the city, we're looking at how soon can we build another ice rink? How soon can we expand the transit? Should we continue the dog licensing program or not? The city services and what we do is much different than what the county is charged with and some of those other agencies. So just helpful advice for the viewers at home. One of the things we'll be looking for is regular updates from different community partners and senior levels of government. And I myself, I will try to bring more regular updates as this discussion continues outside of city council chambers. So I think better go to a vote. You've heard the motion and we had the last part repeated by the clerk. So all those in favor and opposed, and motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone. And we'll be contacting Rotary in the near future. Thank you and keep up the good work. And next up, we will move on to our planning reports. And the first planning report is the application for official plan amendment and zone change for the east end of Dufferin Street. So mover and a seconder. We'll go Councillor Talbot and Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move that Woodstock City Council advise Oxford County Council that the city supports the application to amend the Oxford County official plan, file number OP 21038, submitted by the city of Woodstock for lands legally described as part lots 6 and 8, plan 495 in the city of Woodstock, to redesignate the subject property from environmental protection to traditional industrial to facilitate the use of the lands for open storage associated with a permitted use. And further, Woodstock City Council approve in principle the zone change application, file number Z8-2103, submitted by the city of Woodstock for lands legally described as part lots 6 and 8, plan 495 in the city of Woodstock, rezone the lands from passive use open space OS1 to special restricted industrial zone M2 SP to facilitate the use of the lands for open storage associated with a permitted use. And further, that any comments received in public were reviewed and considered before the decision was made in relation to this planning matter.
Thank you. And let's see, Ms. Hassler.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. So this application is for an official plan amendment and a zone change. And the applicant is actually, in fact, the city of Woodstock. And as Councillor Talbot pointed out, the application is to redesignate the subject lands from environmental protection to traditional industrial, and then to rezone the subject lands from passive use open space to restricted industrial zone M2. And so basically what is happening with this application is that there is a long-standing use on the subject lands, which are part of a much larger parcel, which are considered part of the Brick Pond wetlands. And as you can see, Sudsworth Park is also involved in that. And then there was a little bit of confusion with the public because the The municipal address, which I have taken out of the report, is actually 919 Alice Street, and that's simply because it's attached to this park that has frontage onto Alice Street. And so it is 919 Alice Street, but it only has to do with this parcel that is highlighted at the end of Dufferin Street. And so the city is looking to transfer the lands, and I'll just move down here. The city is looking to transfer this parcel, and it's 0.25 hectares or 0.63 acres, and they would be looking to consolidate it with the property to the immediate west, which is currently housing a contractor's yard. So the longstanding use has been that the contractor's yard has used this parcel for, I believe, the owner of the contractor's yard told me it's been at least 60 years. So they've been using this parcel for open storage. And so the city, as in consultation with Upper Thames, as well as the Parks Department, have determined that this parcel is not detrimental to the Brick Pond wetlands, and allowing for the transfer of this parcel would not have a negative impact on the wetlands. Further to that, so this application then would facilitate that transfer, and then it would appropriately redesignate and rezone the subject lands to be in accordance with the property to the immediate west, which it'll be consolidated with. And so just as a recap, council passed a resolution to authorize the sale of these lands to the adjacent owner on January 14th, 2021. And so as I indicated, we have been in consultation with Upper Thames as well as City Parks, and Upper Thames provided comments indicating that they were supportive of the application as long as no permanent structures were established on the subject property, as well as they indicated the types of materials that could be stored that would be considered open storage on this site. And examples that they included were topsoil, gravel, and concrete structures. And then also that none of these, anything that's stored on that site would not be toxic to the wetland or the surrounding area. Further, they requested that a fence be constructed along the periphery of this property on the property line, and that would discourage any future encroachment. Outside of this, which I did not include in the report because it's not part of the subject lands, but the city has a purchase and sale agreement with the owner, and the owner has agreed to install also a berm to the east of the subject property, and it would be on the brick wetland site, and that would also discourage any future encroachment as well as work to protect the wetlands from anything in this industrial area. So we felt that the application is appropriate for a redesignation and a rezoning to facilitate this transfer of lands, and we don't feel that it'll have a negative impact on the Brick Pond wetlands. That being said, we are recommending that instead of giving the parcel a straight traditional industrial designation and a straight M2 zone, we recommended that the lands get a special policy designation as well as special zoning, and that would make sure that that the Upper Thames recommendations are carried forward onto the site, and that they would be carried forward in perpetuity with the parcel. So in light of that, we'd recommend that council give these applications favorable consideration.
Thank you. And I know there were a few individuals in the community who were concerned. They've seen all of the work that's been going on at the Brick Pond wetlands and the improvements, and how much of a jewel that is becoming. And this is something that has been in the works for quite a while. And in fact, before the work started for the rehabilitation at Brick Pond, and eventually what we hope to see there is some great educational components that the school boards will be able to use. It was pointed out by the parties as we were out there walking around and dreaming about the potential rehabilitation. It was spoken about at that point that this would be the probably the best course forward to make sure we protect that habitat. So to the individuals that had concern that this was a step in the wrong direction, in fact, this was something that helped us move forward in that right direction to put those resources towards that rehabilitation. Questions of council? And seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries unanimous. And next we have on the same street, Dufferin Street, we have the application for consent and minor variance for Oxford Builders at 843 Dufferin. Councillor Accioni and a seconder, Councillor Schadenberg.
Moved by myself, the Woodstock City Council advise the Land Division Committee that the city supports the proposal to sever the subject property subject to the following 1 through 9 conditions, if that's everyone.
And then do the end further.
My apologies. And further, that City of Woodstock recommend approval of minor variance application 821-07-8 submitted by Oxford Builders Inc. for lands described as Lot 4, Plan 251, Woodstock, as it relates to 1, relief from Section 6.2, Table 6.2 zone provisions to reduce the minimum lot frontage for the severed and retained lots resulting from consent file B21-24-8 from 12 meters, 39.3 feet to 9.7 meters, 31.8 feet. As proposed variance is deemed to be a minor variance from the provisions of the City of Woodstock zoning bylaw, desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land, in keeping with general intent and purpose of the City of Woodstock zoning bylaw, and in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the county official plan.
Thank you. Ms. Haschler, welcome back.
Thank you. I'll just share my screen here again. And so for this application for severance, I'm showing the applicant's sketch just so council has an understanding of the size of the property. So as you can see, the property is 9.79 meters across for each parcel. So the proposal for the application for consent is to create a residential lot as well as retain a residential lot. Up until recently, there was a single detached dwelling on the parcel and it has since been removed. So I can just go back. I think I can. Nope. Yeah, so as you can see, there is a single detached dwelling on the subject property and it has since been removed since the application was applied for. So the applicant is looking to construct a single detached dwelling on each side and they are requesting relief from the minimum lot frontage from 12 meters to 9.7 meters. And then I just wanted to show council again, the depth is 53.2 meters. And so the lots are actually very deep, much deeper, whereas our standard lot size, like our minimum lot depth would be 28 meters. And so it's significantly deeper. So in our opinion, the lots are amply sized to facilitate single detached dwellings on each parcel. Each lot is 521 square meters. And so the application is, council has seen a number of these types of proposals where there's infill development or intensification, and generally staff are supportive of the applications as long as the lots are adequately sized. In this case, we're satisfied with that. We did circulate the application to a number of agencies. The comments that were received were generally related to that would be the most noteworthy, were generally related to the fact that the property backs onto the CN Railway. CN provided us with a number of comments, and as indicated to council on Monday afternoon or evening, the municipality does have the ability where there's an existing lot of record or where there's already sensitive land uses in the area to waive the requirement for a noise and vibration feasibility. In this case, we didn't feel that it was necessary as there had been an existing single detached dwelling, and as you can see, there's residential development within the area already. So we didn't think that was necessary. That being said, CN, as I as I earlier indicated, that they did provide us with comments. A number of their comments were related to the fact that one thing was that they would like a fence along the most northern portion of the property, which we carried through into the conditions. Another item that they requested was a berm along the north side of the property to separate the railway from the residential property. In that case, city staff had concerns with that, seeing as there is a sanitary easement that runs along the northern portion of those properties. And so we would not recommend that the berm be placed there. Some of the other items that the railway indicated too was that there be a 30-meter setback from the railway to the proposed dwellings. In speaking with both the applicant as well as the building department, we feel that we can get in probably the dwellings would be about 28 meters or 28 to 30 meters away from the railway. And so we felt that that was suitable, seeing as they would be no closer to the railway than any of the other development in the area. And then in addition to that, we also received comments from the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority as the northern portion of the property falls within the regulation limits. They indicated that there should be a 15-meter setback from the top of bank to where the dwellings are constructed, and staff are satisfied that these dwellings can be constructed outside of that buffer. Further to that, where the existing dwelling is located, where it's shown that the dwelling was located, that actually falls outside of the regulation limits. So we had no concerns with that either. In light of our review, then we would recommend that this application also be given favorable consideration, and we've included a number of conditions to address any of the comments that were received through the circulation.
Thank you. Questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And our next one is the application for draft plan of condominium and exemption from draft plan approval. And this is for the 1180 Nellis Street. Looking for a mover and a seconder. We'll go Councillor Petter and seconded by Councillor Accioni. Go ahead.
I move that Woodstock City Council advise Oxford County Council that the city supports the application for draft approval of a proposed condominium submitted by Escalade Property Corporation, file number CD 21-01-8, prepared by MTE Ontario Land Surveyors Limited and dated April 21st, 2021 for lands described as Block 117, Plan 41M-98 in the city of Woodstock. And further, that the Woodstock City Council advise County Council that the city supports the application for exemption from the draft plan of condominium approval process submitted by Escalade Property Corporation, file number CD 21-01-8, prepared by MTE Ontario Land Surveyors Limited and dated April 21st, 2021 for lands described as Block 117, Plan 41M-98 in the city of Woodstock, as all matters relating to the development have been addressed through the site plan approval process and a registered site plan agreement with the city of Woodstock.
Thank you. And one more time, Ms. Ashler.
Thank you. So this final application is for a draft plan of condominium and exemption from the draft approval process. And so basically in this situation, there is a recently constructed 6-story apartment building on the subject lands with 46 residential units. And the applicant is proposing to make each unit separately conveyable through the condo approval process. So each unit, as well as a balcony or a ground floor patio, would have exclusive use. And sorry for council's information. I'll just move down to the draft plan. And then all of everything else outside of the units and the balconies and the patios would be considered common element and would be, people could use it freely. The application was approved, the site plan application was approved back in April 2020, and that's why the applicant is proposing to, is applying for the exemption as well. So generally what that means is that everything that would have come up through the planning process has already been addressed through the site plan agreement and the site plan approval process. And so staff would agree with that. There's nothing outstanding on the site. There were no comments received through the agency review. And in our opinion, the proposal is the existing building is in keeping with the high density residential designation. The property is in keeping with, and the building are in keeping with the zoning provisions for the R4 zone. And in light of that, we feel that it's appropriate to grant the exemption as well as support the condo approval.
Thank you. Questions of council? Councillor Schattenberg.
Yeah, through the mayor to our senior planner, I guess my question is more of a mathematics or a future question, because as we've seen before in proposals like this, it's not the intent of the landlord to sell any of the individual units, but because they're becoming a condominium, in theory, 10 years from now, they could change their mind and start selling the units. I was wondering, do they have to start creating a reserve fund now for future projects, like say repairing the roof or repairing windows and whatever, like to in case they're going to start selling condominiums and somebody's going to be asking for a status certificate per se for each individual unit that they might be wanting to purchase there at 1180 Nellis Street? Because that would be real estate term wise more what you would expect. Would they be expected to therefore start a reserve fund, like take some of their apartment rent fee and start putting it aside, as they say, for a rainy day?
Through the mayor to Councillor Schattenberg's question, actually the planning department does not get involved at all with the condominium corporation. So I can't answer that question. I apologize.
I thought that would be the answer to the question, because it's one of these things where they come in for residential taxation purposes and want to become a condominium. I'm just thinking long term, are they again, not to repeat myself, but creating reserve funds for future projects just in case 10 years from now they do sell off the apartments to the individual owners or the individual tenants. So that was just more of a comment than anything else. It seems like there may be a little bit of gamesmanship happening here, but that's, oops, did I say that out loud? Yeah, I did.
All right, further questions of council? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. Thank you very much. And our next item on the agenda is consideration of correspondence. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council refer the request from Mary Jane Yipsa regarding fireworks in the city of Woodstock to staff for a report. And if I get a seconder, I'll just speak to it.
Councillor Schattenberg, you're seconding. And discussion. Councillor Lauder, go ahead.
I had a call from Ms. Yipsa regarding the fireworks, and she said that on the Canada Day weekend and Victoria Day weekend, the fireworks, they start letting them off maybe Thursday night, goes through till maybe Sunday night, and that's her concern. It's not, she's not saying that she doesn't want fireworks. She would like to see them more supervised. And so this bylaw hasn't been checked, looked into or reviewed since 2010. And maybe it is a time for it just to have a look at it, because there's a big concern, I guess, with the dogs, especially the dogs, and then the birds and the atmosphere. So that's why I put this motion forward at her request.
Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor and opposed? Carries. And our next item on the agenda is the request regarding capital gains. Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that Woodstock City Council support the May 31st, 2021 resolution received from the town of Fort Erie regarding capital gains tax on primary residence. And further, that this resolution be circulated to the town of Fort Erie, the Right Honorable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, and the Honorable Dave McKenzie, Oxford MP, and the Honorable Ernie Hardeman, Oxford MPP.
And so we're going with a seconder of Councillor Lauder. Discussion. Councillor Talbot.
I was very pleased when this resolution came forward from Fort Erie. The government is looking at putting capital gains on tax on our primary residents, probably to help pay for all the COVID money that has been dispensed, as well as the other debt that we are in. I don't think this is the answer, and I think they should become more creative. And I mean, it's always the taxpayer that gets it, but on your primary residence, I don't think it's correct.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And let's see, next we will go on with our statement of revenue and expenditures for the period ended May 31st, 2021. We'll go moved by Councillor Lauder, and a seconder will be Councillor Accioni. Thank you.
I'll move that Woodstock City Council receive the statement of revenue and expenditure for the period ending May 31st, 2021 as information.
Thank you. And discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And next up, we have the transit bus rehabilitation. We'll go Councillor Petter, and second by Councillor Talbot. Thank you.
I move that Woodstock City Council waive the tendering requirements and authorize staff to engage Mississauga bus coach and truck repairs for the amount of $98,814.29, excluding taxes.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And then we'll move right along to some short-term construction delays. So this isn't the big dig, but this is the surface asphalt tender award for 2021, covering several streets. We'll go with Councillor Schadenberg, second by Councillor Accioni. Thank you.
The Woodstock City Council awarded tender for the 2021 annual asphalt program to Permanent Paving Limited in the amount of $1,666,666.66, inclusive of HST.
Thank you. And a lot of sixes. Glad it didn't start with a 6 though, so that's good. Discussion? Let's see. Oh, Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I guess a question through from our mayor through to the engineering department. I noticed that the part of the contract for permanent paving this year, it would be to go over and do some repaving of a parking lot over at the community complex. And really it's divided into 4 parking lots over there, and 2 of them were done in front of Southwood Arenas last year. Which is sort of due up for this year as far as the rotation goes?
Your worship, through the councillor, yeah, this would be the 3rd section, and this is the parking lot in front of Fanshawe College.
Thank you. Further discussion? Councillor Schadenberg.
I guess a quick follow-up question there, more of curiosity than anything else. When a project is specifically done, would the contractor, say Permanent Paving, contact your office and sort of say, okay, we're done over at Fanshawe College, so that somebody from your department can go over with a clipboard, so to speak, and make sure everything is sort of nicely finished, as they say?
Your worship, through the councillor, actually we most construction jobs, including the asphalt contract, we try to have almost full-time inspection. So we have an inspector on site. Now, sometimes if we have multiple jobs going on at the same time, they jump from one job to another, but they are on site most of the time, partially also because they have to grab tickets from the trucks so that we can have a record of how many tons of asphalt were actually laid down.
Thank you. Further discussion? Well, that explains one person with a clipboard. And you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And next up, we will move to the purchase of future industrial land, and looking for a mover and a seconder. And we'll go Councillor Talbot as a mover, and a seconder will be Councillor Petter.
Thank you, Worship. I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve the purchase of the Elliott property and that the necessary bylaw be read, and further that the purchase be financed from the Hydro Legacy Fund.
Thank you. And discussion? So seeing none, and we'll, in accordance with our investment policy for the Hydro Legacy Fund, as this is going to be investing into our future and will be paid back as those lands are developed and sold, will require our 2/3 majority. So I might ask you to hold your hands up a little bit longer. So you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And that's all of us. So motion carries. Thank you very much. And now proposed sale of city industrial land. And we're going to be running out of these types of motions in the short term, as land is in short supply right now from our perspective. So we'll go a mover as Councillor Lauder, and a seconder, Councillor Accioni.
Thank you. I'll move that Woodstock City Council rescind bylaw 9384-20, a bylaw to provide for the sale of the certain lands owned by the Corporation of the City of Woodstock to 2744145 Ontario Inc., and further that City Council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign an agreement of purchase and sale with 2427224 Ontario Inc., and that the necessary bylaw be read.
Thank you. And discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. Unanimous. And next up, we have a couple of T's to cross and I's to dot, and a few words to revise on our Municipal Code Chapter 36, which deals with the Board of Management Improvement Area. And we'll go with Councillor Talbot as a mover, and a seconder will be Councillor Schadenberg. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll move that Woodstock City Council approve revisions to Municipal Code Chapter 36, Board of Management Improvements Area, and that necessary bylaw be read.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. Unanimous. So next up, we have the delegation of signing authority. And we'll go with Councillor Petter, seconded by Councillor Accioni.
I move that the Woodstock City Council refer the report regarding delegation of signing authority to the bylaw section of the agenda, and further that city policy GA017, delegation of powers and duties, be updated accordingly.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And next up, we have notice of motion, and this one will be discussed at our future meeting, but today we'll have Councillor Lauder read that notice into record. Go ahead, Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. Whereas the current affordable housing crisis in Canada and the quality of life implications caused by addiction, drug and opiate use, and mental health issues are impacting communities in Canada and around the world. And whereas citizens in many communities are alarmed by the increase in homelessness, needles discarded in public spaces, visible sign of illegal activities, and are disillusioned with the justice system response. And whereas policing and the justice system is not the solution to homelessness and addiction or an effective use of public funds. And whereas public health initiatives and programs aimed at addiction are provided by multiple ministries and agencies and are clearly inadequate, and new long-term solutions are required. And whereas many of the programs and attempts from different agencies, government organizations, and ministry service providers have created a disjointed delivery system. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Woodstock City Council calls on the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, to bring together the Ministry of the Attorney General, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, and the Ministry of Children, Community, and Social Services to immediately work together on both short and long-term solutions, complete with funding to take proper responsibility and action to address the affordable housing, homelessness, and addictions crisis. And further, that the resolution be circulated to the Honorable Ernie Hardeman, Oxford MPP, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, and all other municipalities.
Thank you. And we'll have discussion on that at our next meeting. And now we'll move along to bylaws. And we're going to go with Councillor Petter.
Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Talbot that the following bylaws be given a first and second reading. 94-64-21, a bylaw to amend the City of Woodstock Municipal Code, Chapter 36, Board of Management Improvement Areas. 94-65-21, a bylaw to provide for the financing of the purchase of 486-488 Dundas Street. 94-66-21, a bylaw to provide for the purchase of certain lands owned by Marie Louise Lois Elliott. 94-67-21, a bylaw to provide for the delegation of powers and duties by council in order to authorize the city engineer and chief building official to execute and sign certain documents on behalf of the corporation of the City of Woodstock. 94-68-21, a bylaw to rescind bylaw 93-84-20 and to provide for the sale of certain lands owned by the corporation of the City of Woodstock to 24-27-224 Ontario Inc. 94-69-21, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended, ZN 8-21-02 Springbank and Parkinson. 94-70-21, a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 8626-10 as amended, ZN 8-20-02 Baird's Lane.
Thank you. Discussion? Seeing none, you've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And Councillor Petter.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Talbot, that the following bylaws be given a third and final reading. 94-64-21, 94-65-21, 94-66-21, 94-67-21, 94-68-21, 94-69-21, and 91-70-21.
Thank you. You've heard the motion. All those in favor? And carries. And let's see, today we will start with, we'll go Councillor Petter.
In order to keep Rogers on their schedule, I'm going to just wish everybody a happy Father's Day. And people, if you're worried about what to get your father, a barbecue would be nice, maybe a Weber, maybe a 21-86 model. I mean, not saying for everybody, but you know, something like that anyway. Anyway, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Thanks.
Very prepared, complete with a model number. I'm impressed. I hope to be invited to a barbecue in the future when that's allowed. We'll go next, Councillor Schadenberg.
Yeah, thanks. A couple of reminders. Nominations for the City Beautiful Awards continue until Friday, July 16th. Many categories to nominate your friends, neighbors, companies in residential, commercial, industrial, institutional, very unique gardens. There's 9 categories, I think, altogether. Go to the City of Woodstock website for more information on that. I think that's a City of Woodstock thing that I've been involved with for a number of years. Would be the Recreation Advisory Committee. So cityofwoodstock.ca/rec survey Monteith Brown is the name of the consulting group based in London, who are currently taking a look at all the recreation needs for the future for the city of Woodstock, indoors, outdoors, sports facilities, all sports and recreation activities, trails, arenas, swimming, cycling, baseball, soccer, tennis, cricket, and of course, disc golf is on that list, of course, as well. Can't forget that. So it's cityofwoodstock.ca/rec survey and try to participate in that one to tabulate information and data on what the city needs long-term for sports and recreation.
Thank you. Councillor Accioni.
Thank you, Worship. I just want to, I'll keep it brief too. Rotary Club, thank you again for coming forward. It just, as far as community goes, it is very frustrating, as the mayor kind of led to on social media when people are talking and everything else, and accusing councils and even just government in general of not doing anything. I think they really need to start watching, paying attention, and just thanking groups like the Rotary Club that are trying to do something about it over and above, thinking outside of the box. Is this the final solution? Who knows? I'm just encouraged that somebody is willing to take it on, think outside of the box, and keep it going. So for everybody that's out there that's blaming people, you know what, put those energies better forward, volunteer, help other people out here in the community. There is lots of very great organizations here that do want to help people, and the majority of the time they are simply looking for volunteers. So please put your foot forward, help out any way you can. And again, hats off to any organization that puts together something so professional and, at least with a pointed effort of solving the issue instead of just complaining about it. And listen, everybody, happy Father's Day to everybody out there. Have a great day. Visit as much as you can that's allowed, and just be safe, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lauder.
Thank you. I too want to wish all the fathers out there a very happy Father's Day, and hope to get one of those gifts that you had on your list, Councillor Patter. And just further to what Mr. Hilderly had said, stay safe, active, and connected, and enjoy your summer days, and get out there and get that second shot, or if it's not your first shot of vaccine, just get it over. The quicker we get it, the quicker we can all get back to some semblance of order. So thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Talbot.
Thank you, Worship. Just want to wish, I guess, everybody the first day of summer or summer solstice. It gives you, it's the longest day of the year, and so you get to celebrate your fathers for a little bit longer. So enjoy the day. It's going to be a good beginning. Thank you.
And I want to thank Council for their commitment going above and beyond. Quite often, individuals are approaching, with the frustration that people are feeling, and even approaching individuals where it's not their responsibility. So it puts a lot onto individual councillors. I think of our city-only councillors and some of the discussions they've been drawn into that aren't necessarily something where they were elected to that position. So when you look at what's going on, I think the reminder is, again, get involved, ask questions before you make attacks, learn some of the stories that are out there from the individuals that are suffering, learn stories from the individuals that are in the field working, and if you need to vent, take it offline and go for a walk on our trails. Get rid of that, it'll change your perspective, getting some fresh air and sunshine, and try to stay positive. It's been a long road for a lot of people. And again, when anyone speaks, it was a good reminder today, if we we look at some of the implications of characterization. It is never intended to mean this is how everyone is, or this is what is causing something. It's not all inclusive. It's not a generalization. It's just the reality that some are, some aren't. And I think as we move forward as a community, when I compare ourselves to other communities, so when I hear individuals say that things are very dark in Woodstock right now, or some of the issues with petty crime or with the homelessness, and they say that this is not the Woodstock that they want, this is not acceptable, and we all agree. But when you look at what's happening in neighboring communities, whether that's St. Thomas or Stratford or Brantford or Kitchener or London, one thing I will assure all of you, we are the envy compared to many communities. Their increase in social problems, their increase in some of the delinquency and petty crime and vagrancy is tremendously magnified above and beyond what we see here. So I think one of the things that's really come to light here, we never really had any of the big city problems visible in our community in the past, quite the same way we do now. And again, the individuals that are working in this field, they have been continuing to adapt and do what they can with the resources that they have. And those resources do not come from the city of Woodstock. And of course, if anyone who is watching this stream feels that they learned something today by the discussion that took place with council, please encourage others to go and watch that. It is very disappointing to continue to hear some of the same misconceptions being stated again and again by individuals in the community that really are just making matters worse, because it takes people down the wrong path. It puts questions onto individuals that are trying to focus their efforts on making this a good community for everybody. It makes us stop doing that work we're supposed to do in order to focus on stuff that we should not be focusing on. And even when the record gets set straight, there's still people that are going to continue to say those same things. So try to spread the word around, be positive, be mindful of the needs of others and your neighbors, and enjoy the summer months that are coming up. Get that fresh air, sunshine. And for Father's Day, I think of the fathers right now who sometimes not for their own choosing, but for circumstances that they find themselves in. I think of them. So the ones who maybe aren't going to get the card or maybe the barbecue. So I've got a little poem here. It was written by someone anonymous, and it was given to me, and it made me think about some of the people that are very close to me, and I want to read it now for you, and hopefully it resonates for someone out there. Here's to all the dads who paid for a dinner that no one was grateful for, who didn't know if they'd make it to the next payday, who are trying their best to be a good man in a society that continues to devalue men, who lost their patience multiple times in a day because they see their own life passing with their dreams still in their chest, who never hear, "I am proud of you," because those are very important words to a man, who work long hours and leave all the day's frustrations at the door to be there for his kids, because that's what dads do, who love so much, even when they feel that they are failing, who shoulder the weight of the world for their family. You're doing a great job, and I'm proud of you. Happy Father's Day to everybody, and we'll see you in July. And I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. Counselor Petter and seconded by Counselor Accioni. All those in favor? And we